Coming up. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump turns to an old ally to lead the Central Intelligence Agency. More than 61,000 people are estimated to have died in Sudan's Khartoum state during the first 14 months of the war. And in our entertainment report, Heather Maxwell hosts Togolese singer, songwriter, and band leader Masama Dogo, aka Dogo, to perform an unplugged version of one of his tracks. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is selecting Tulsi Gabbard to be the director of the National Intelligence, and he's turning to an old ally, John Ratcliffe, to lead the Central Intelligence Agency. Ratcliffe was the director of the National Intelligence during the final year and a half of Trump's first term. VOA national security correspondent Jeff Selden has more on Trump's intel picks.
The splashiest pick, former U.S. Representative Tulsi Gabbard, tapped by President-elect Donald Trump to be his director of national intelligence.
Here is the choice that we have. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Dick Cheney, and it's a vote for war, more war, likely World War III and nuclear war. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a man who wants to end wars, not start them.
The one-time Democrat became a strong voice for Trump's campaign, rallying crowds behind his agenda.
It's why I'm proud to stand with President Trump and why we, the people, must vote to send him back to the White House and make America great again.
In announcing Gabbard's nomination, Trump praised her fearless spirit, saying she'll bring that to the job. She also brings more than 20 years of experience serving with the U.S. Army National Guard, and she brings a degree of controversy, working Republican and Democratic lawmakers with this social media video in which critics say she mirrored Russian propaganda about U.S.-funded bioweapons labs in Ukraine, something U.S. intelligence officials say is not true. Republican Senator Mitt Romney called Gabbard's comments treasonous lies, a charge Gabbard rejected. Gabbard's also been criticized for meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, accused of war crimes. But she defended her trip, saying you can't be serious about peace unless you're willing to talk to your adversaries. Trump's choice of John Ratcliffe to lead the CIA is more conventional, Ratcliffe having served as Trump's director of national intelligence at the end of Trump's first term. From his days as a member of the House Intelligence Committee,
are either of you here today to assert there was an impeachable offense in that call? Shout it out. Anyone?
Ratcliffe has been a staunch Trump ally. And when lawmakers initially forced Ratcliffe to withdraw his name from consideration for the top intelligence post in 2019, Trump had his back.
The press was treating him, I thought, very unfairly. He's an outstanding man.
Ratcliffe got another chance and promised lawmakers he would make sure U.S. intelligence agencies provided the country with what he described as the unvarnished truth.
You have my commitment.
At times, Ratcliffe clashed with lawmakers over moves to declassify intelligence about alleged Russian election interference. He also pushed back against meddling by Iran, Russia, and China.
There is nothing more sacred in our republic than the fundamental democratic principle of one person, one vote.
Trump entrusting a familiar face and a rising star to lead U.S. intelligence efforts for the next 4 years. Jeff Selden, VOA News, Washington.
More than 61,000 people are estimated to have died in Khartoum state during the first 14 months of Sudan's war, and evidence suggests the death toll could be higher, according to a new report by researchers in Britain and Sudan. VOA's Philip Alexiou has the details.
This is the gravesite of Khalid Sanori. He was a musician who died of hunger buried in his home's front yard in the Abdermans Moulazmin neighborhood, a death that was announced on social media in July of last year. His friend, Mohammed Omar, took part in his burial.
My brother Khalid was sick, and the war started, and this is a frontline area. There were no hospitals or pharmacies where we could get medicine, not even markets to buy food, which is essential to one's health. These were all factors which had an impact until his body was frail and he got sick.
Assistant professor at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine Sudan Research Group, Maysoon Dahab, says across the country the main cause of death was disease and starvation.
In specific conflict severe settings like Al Jazeera, Khartoum, Kordofan, and Darfur, killings constituted the higher proportion of those deaths. So amongst the people who were killed, who died, many more in those four areas were killed as opposed to have died of disease and starvation. What is of particular note is that in Kordofan and Darfur, the majority of people were killed, even when comparing to Al Jazeera and Khartoum.
Dahab says among the more than 61,000 deaths in Khartoum state, an estimated 26,000 people suffered violent deaths. That's a higher estimate than the one currently used by the United Nations for the entire country. Residents say hundreds of graves have popped up next to homes across Greater Khartoum since last year. With the return of the army to some neighborhoods, they've started relocating the bodies to Omdurman's main cemetery. There are as many as 50 burials a day there, according to undertaker Abdeen Kadir. Still, Kadir says the bodies keep coming, and the warring sides have traded blame for the growing toll. The war erupted from a power struggle between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the RSF ahead of a planned transition to civilian rule. The RSF quickly took over most of the capital and has now spread into at least half the country, though the military regained control of some neighborhoods in Omdurman and Bahri in recent months. A UN fact-finding mission in September indicates both sides have committed abuses that might amount to war crimes, including attacking civilians. The war has also produced ethnically driven violence in the western Darfur region, blamed largely on the RSF. The RSF did not dispute the study's estimates, blaming the deaths in the capital on deliberate airstrikes on populated areas, in addition to artillery shelling and drone strikes. The new report highlighted the significant and likely growing toll taken by the war's indirect impacts, including hunger, disease, and the collapse of health care. Philip Alexio, VOA News.
When the conflict in Darfur erupted last year, Adib Youssef, the former governor of Central Darfur State, was trapped but managed to help residents and families evacuate and escape to get out alive along with himself. He talks with Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori about possible answers for the conflict and his participation toward a solution.
I was not planning to leave the country, and I was trying to struggle with the people living with them. They're trying to help by any means, and that's why we start different projects, youth projects, the emergency response room project, trying to mitigate what is happening. But when things come to a deadlock, I found myself with no option. My father died during the war due to lack of medication and communication. So I took a long trip from Darfur all the way to Port Sudan, and that is full of many different stories in order to reach to Port Sudan, because from the western side of the country to the eastern side of the country, and I end up in Uganda. Currently I'm working for an organization known as People to People. We are trying to help the refugees at the camps, the Sudanese refugees at the camps, but also we are helping the increasing number of IDPs inside different cities and towns in Darfur.
From what you know as an insider, what could be the best way forward, given that all international efforts up to this point have not borne any positive fruits?
I think the international community, one thing that they need to do is to put an action to stop the ongoing violence. Second, I think there is a foundational need for a ceasefire agreement with third party observation. Three, I think there is a need for the protection of civilian. Civilians have been paying the price of all this. 90% of the casualties in Sudan and in Darfur are civilian. So I think those could be three main steps that start making a difference to stabilize the situation. And I think then issues of peace building could erupt there in a sense of trust building and confidence building. This is not only between the two warring parties, but also among the ordinary people.
What do those external forces want in Sudan? Those who are supporting the different sides?
I think it is all about resources, resources in the sense of gold and other resources that Sudan has. It depends on which direction of Sudan. Therefore, mainly they're interested on gold and some other minerals.
Yes.
So it depends. But the basic interest, the major interest is they want to loot the Sudanese resources.
Yes.
That was the former governor of Central Darfur State, Adib Youssef, speaking with Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori. Senegal voters are casting their ballots in legislative elections on Sunday. The voting is likely to determine whether the new president and government can gain control over the National Assembly and push through their agenda for reforms. Earlier, I spoke to Ibrahima Khan, a Senegalese political analyst, and began by asking him what President Ousmane Sonko can do to fix the economy.
Well, I think the main issues that interest the youth that is supporting him is not only to get a job, have better education, and open the economy in the way that Senegal can really benefit from the gas and oil that the country has started to exploit. But I think the government itself is in a very complicated situation because the corruption in the past has played a very bad role in the economy. Nothing is working at the moment in Senegal. And this government doesn't have the experience, but also the connection that is really required to facilitate that transition. Currently, they have a problem with IMF. They still have problem with local business people. And the fact that they are insisting about fighting against corruption, that also create a new context where people don't want to invest because they will be seen as having benefited from the previous government. So they are in a very difficult situation, but I hope that if they have a very strong majority, that will probably allow them to make the changes that they want in the constitution, in the country, to really start implementing their own agenda.
So what is the role of the former president Macky Sall in this election?
Well, we were all surprised to see Macky Sall being the lead of his former party, APR, for this election. You know, usually when a president leaves power, he will start retiring or try to find a new life after having exercised this power for 12 years. Surprisingly, he decided to stay and to support his party. I think there are 2 or 3 reasons to that. One is he doesn't want to be disconnected from what is happening in the country. His party is in a very bad shape, and if he doesn't fight to have a number of MPs that will help him to be vocal at the parliament, that will also destroy his party and destroy everything that he built in the past. And I think lastly also, he wants to participate, to create a very strong opposition to the current government so that at least they don't have, the kind of majority that they wanted, which will allow them to do everything. So all in all, Macky Sall still have an interest to play in playing a role in Senegal.
That was Senegalese political analyst Ibrahima Khan. Still to come in our entertainment report, Heather Maxwell hosts Togolese singer, songwriter and band leader Masama Dogo. We'll be right back.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us each week right here on Red Carpet. We bring you the latest in
In other news, South Africa's government says it will not help a group of illegal miners inside a closed mine in the country's northwest province who are being denied access to basic supplies as part of an official strategy against illegal mining. The miners in the mine shaft in Stilfontein are believed to be suffering from a lack of food, water and other basic necessities after police closed off the entrances used to transport their supplies underground. A re-engagement between Egypt and Turkey, the main supporters of the rival powers in Libya, could offer hope for easing tensions between the Libyan factions. Dorian Jones has more from Istanbul.
Libyan oil exports resumed this month after production shut down over a battle to control Libya's central bank, which manages oil exports. The dispute between Libya's two rival administrations was only resolved by intense negotiations.
What happened is a very grave crisis which has been partly resolved but still presents some loose ends, and a lot of players, including armed groups in Tripoli, are trying to kind of take advantage of whatever has happened over the last several weeks. So I'm not describing a scenario of war, but I'm describing a more volatile environment.
But a rapprochement between Egypt and Turkey could offer hope for easing tensions. Cairo backs the Libyan administration in Benghazi of Khalifa Haftar, while Ankara supports the Tripoli-based government of national unity. Last month, during a visit to Ankara, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi pledged to work on Libya with his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Analysts say this cooperation was key to resolving the latest Libyan crisis.
Both countries can push, the Tripoli-based government or Benghazi-based Khalifa Haftar, at least to accept something or come to the least terms that they can agree. So it's a win-win situation for both Egypt and Turkey.
With both the Turkish and Egyptian economies in crisis, the economic benefits of cooperating in Libya are, analysts say, a powerful force behind the country's rapprochement.
These two countries are very important to both. They've figured out a way to, divide spheres and work together. Even in the East now, Turkish companies have cut lucrative deals, infrastructure deals, just as Egypt has. So economy and money drives a lot of these political friendships and rapprochement.
Ankara wants Cairo to use its influence over Haftar to support an agreement it made with the rival Libyan Government of National Unity to explore what are widely believed to be energy reserves in Libyan waters. Conversely, some analysts say Cairo wants Ankara to support removing the Government of National Unity's Prime Minister, Abdul Hamid Dbeibah. Despite differences, observers say Cairo and Ankara are committed to cooperation.
What hasn't already been decided is that they are going to speak. They are going to speak on a daily basis. And then at every crucial moment, they're going to make sure, Turkey specifically is going to make sure that Egypt is on board.
Given the potentially high economic stakes for both Egypt and Turkey, Libya will likely be seen as an important test of the country's new rapprochement. Cooperation that could help ease Libya's deep divide, analysts say. Dorian Jones, VOA News, Istanbul.
It's time for Entertainment Report, and joining us now is Heather Maxwell, and she has with her a very special guest. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Esther. Hello, everyone. 2 years ago, I invited the talented Masama Dogo, a.k.a. Dogo du Togo, on the show to announce his debut album. Well, now he's back with us with his sophomore album, just released November 8th. Hi, Dogo.
Hi, Heather.
How are you?
I'm very good.
It's great to have you on.
Great. I'm glad to come here.
It's been 2 years.
Yes.
So tell us about your new album, Avude.
Yes, Avude is, the meaning is, it means struggle in Ewe. And it was recorded in Togo in a legendary Otodi studio. That's a studio that was built in the 70s by the Americans. And at the time, musicians would come all over Africa to record there. Salif Keita recorded his first.
In Lomé?
Yes, over there. Actually, Mori Kante and King Sonny Ade recorded there too.
Wow.
Today, that studio is not working, it's not functioning anymore, but the sound is good. So what we did is we brought in our instruments and we recorded a great album that is electric compared to the last album that is more acoustic.
I see.
And
all right.
more energy and more danceable. And
yeah.
stuff.
Well, I see you have your guitar. You're going to play something for us. What are you going to play?
This one is called Enwolanyo, and Enwolanyo means things will get better. What I'm saying here is that it's good to pray, it's good to call God, but you have to work hard for things to get better. All right, play.
Agbova do viviti, nenwo mega vale zonde, nenwo seudowa kuvyom gananyo. Na jidore awola akbobe nuola kareme aye enuola nyona nchanko ewe enuola nyona nchala nemi yama ucha mi dola enuola kareme nemi yama ucha de mi dola yenuola nyo nemi yama ucha mi dola yenuola nyo yenuola kareme. So that's Yenuola nyo.
Beautiful.
Now I have another song called Africa.
Great. Africa.
Yes.
In English?
In English, same thing. It's called Africa. It's just saying to the leaders in Africa to build a continent, to work hard for the young people not to leave. Because when they leave, they may not come back.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
All right.
Nenkuvik banochande, jimela sioma. Nenkuvi levochande, nuola sioma. Eye na ole jo, io vodeo maga trovak bereu. Eye na ole jo, jo io vodeo maga trova gbereo. Yo vo hadwa dose, mi abe duplo la wa nu sende mele wasio. E nuola sen wa, mi abe duplo la wa pa wa de mele wasio de. Eye na ole jo, jo io vodeo maga trova gbereo. Eye na ole jo io vodeo maga trova gbereo.
I like that one.
Thank you very much.
Now, that brings me to another question. So you're asking Africans to stay there, but you live here. However, you go back and forth a lot. Your whole band is based in Lomé, right?
Yes, the whole band is based in
my
Lomé.
question is, how do you maintain life here and such a, I mean, you're productive. You've done 2 albums in 2 years. How do you do that?
Just focus, and I travel to Togo a lot.
Yeah.
I'm here, but what I can say is I live between Lomé and DC.
Yeah.
I go to Togo a lot. I write the songs here, and I send it to them. We talk via WhatsApp and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I go, we practice. Basically, don't have a break, though. That's true.
Yeah.
But I usually go back. But what the song is saying is some people leave and they don't come back. And what needs to happen is that maybe the leaders need to do a better job for people not to leave and not come back.
Mm-hmm. So which one do you like better? DC
Both.
or Lomé?
Both.
They're different, huh?
No, seriously, I like both. I like to go to Togo because that's my roots.
Yeah.
But I like being in DC too because it's a great city.
I love Togo too. You remember I was there a couple of years ago.
Yes,
I loved it. Really loved it. All right. So when is your next big concert?
I don't have anything planned right now, but I'm being prepared to go to Togo, and probably we're going to have a show on the streets, but nothing in a serious venue. But, you know, a street is a serious venue anyway.
It is, isn't it? Well, Dogo du Togo, thank you so much. People can reach you, they can listen to you and watch you on YouTube, they can get your music on iTunes, Spotify, Dogo du Togo.
Yes. Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. Dogo du Togo is online. The album is called Avoude, and it's CD, vinyl, and digital.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks everyone. Esther, back to you.
So great to hear Dogo here in the studio. Heather, thanks. Africa 54's Entertainment Report air every Friday right here. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.